Welcome to the Hormone Hub, your go-to source for the conversations every woman in her 40s and 50s needs to have. I'm your host, Kylie Pinwill, your nutritionist helping you navigate your way through perimenopause, menopause and beyond so you can say goodbye to the endless fatigue, unexplained weight gain, hot flushes, PMS, mood changes and more that come on this hormonal roller coaster. If you missed the memo or think this is only for women of a certain age, ladies, it's time to think again. Now sit back, relax and enjoy the show. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of my latest episodes, which are released every week. Share it with your friends, your sweaty sisters. The more we talk, the more we help each other. Hello, and welcome back to the Hormone Hub. Today is a super fun episode and I want you to have an open mind. So there are going to be points during this episode where you think, what is she talking about? She's gone all woo-woo, she's lost us. But trust me, stick with it. There is, science threaded throughout this. So today we are talking about how to sort of get in sync with your cycle. And this applies whether you are menstruating, whether you have a period or not. So, we're still connected to biological rhythms and cycles. So all of these biological rhythms influence our sleep, our metabolism, our heart rate, our blood pressure, temperature, the production of urine, and hormones as well. So when we sort of tune into our cycles, we can tune into what our body needs. So we're not the same, are we? 24/7, day in, day out. We might be on fire one week. We might be super productive at work. We might be, on top of our energy. We can get up, we can exercise, we can do all the things. And then there's other days where we just want to lie on the lounge, watch Netflix and, eat popcorn. So, by tuning into our cycles, we can tune better into what our body needs. Okay. So this is where we're going to go woo-woo. So what we're going to do is link your cycle. If you've got a cycle, that's great. But if not, we are going to link it to the moon. Okay, so this is where you're probably thinking, okay, but there is science behind this. So we can be guided by the natural ebbs and flows of our energy, our nutritional needs, our sleep patterns, and because the lunar cycle is one of the most powerful cycles on the planet. So it controls the seasons, it affects the tidal currents in the ocean, and it's the interaction between the sun, the earth, the moon, all is connected. So, you might be sort of thinking, what is she talking about? But trust me. So start to sort of think about the similarities. So our circadian rhythm is 24 hours long. So that's our sleep-wake cycle. Our female menstrual cycle is, around 28 days long, anywhere between 24 and 35 is sort of normal. The lunar cycle is also about 28 days long. Well, technically it's actually 29.5. The lunar cycle has 4 distinct phases and the female menstrual cycle also has 4 distinct phases. So can you see I've not lost the plot totally? It's connected. Then, in our calendar year, we have 4 seasons, all with different qualities. And the 4 phases of the female cycle also have 4 different qualities. See, interesting connection, hey? So each phase kind of offers a different kind of energy than the last. So even coming down to the different food requirements that our body needs during each phase. So once you tap into these trends, you're going to see powerful shifts in your energy levels, your mood, digestion, sleep, your creativity, your productivity, and your overall health and well-being as well. So let's kind of jump in and have a look at, how to do it. Now, my advice for you is just to sort of start tracking where we're at with the moon cycle. And if you are having a menstrual cycle, where you're at in your menstrual cycle. So you don't have to use both. You can either use the moon cycle if you don't have a menstrual cycle, or you can use your actual menstrual cycle. All right. Yeah, like I said, don't overthink it, but I do suggest that you give it a good, 3 months or even like 4 to 6 months and give your body a chance to create some repetition so you can sort of start to recognize these rhythms and support these rhythms. All right. let's jump in. It'll make more sense as we go along. Okay, so just imagine your menstrual cycle as the new moon phase. Okay, so the new moon is when, it's mostly dark and we've got a little bit of colour poking out of the moon. Okay, so if we think of our menstrual cycle as the same, we want to sit in the dark and we just want to poke our nose out. We don't want to be out there on display necessarily. So this is where, if day one of our period, this is where our body is in search of foods. Okay, so we want comfort, we want soothing. And, so many of us hear this calling from within, and this is where we go for the chocolate, the cookies, the ice cream, all the things. So these are just, a temporary support system. Okay. But they can actually make it worse. So cramping, sore boobs, breakouts, crappy moods, constipation, water retention, weight gain, it's a perceived weight gain. We might have physical symptoms. So we might have backache, achy hip joints, breast tenderness and cravings. Those cravings increase. So this is where, and you might feel achy in your pelvic area. So this is where, like, if you don't have a cycle, if you have had a hysterectomy or an ablation, your ovaries are intact, you can actually experience these symptoms. Okay, so it's good to pay attention. So during that menstrual phase or that new moon phase, with our energy and creativity. So this is a great time for journaling. It's a great time for reflection. It's a good time to see, what's working, what's not working. Tune into your intuition. Okay. So this is where we want to get grounded. We want to, we tend to be sort of a bit quieter, a bit more withdrawn from social interactions, and, tune into yourself. And, if you are feeling annoyed or even venomous to the people around you at this point, it's a sign that something is out of balance. Okay, so during our menstrual cycle, or our period, this is where our hormone levels are at the lowest. So we need to, keep our energy and mood stable by having, upping our protein, upping our healthy fats, go lower on the carby sort of sugary foods, because, that's not going to help. So foods full of, iron and zinc. So, things like kidney beans, kale, kelp, even putting like spirulina and chlorophyll in your water can help. Mushrooms, beetroot, because this is all remineralizing and restoring the blood. So listen to your body during this phase. Do what feels best. And, keep in mind that if you are suffering from cramps, breast tenderness, a really heavy flow along with fatigue, going down that path of the sugar, the carbs, dairy, caffeine, alcohol, it's going to sort of exacerbate all of these symptoms. All right. So that's your period. So that's where we want to kind of bunker down, and we really need to support our blood sugar and eat lots of protein and healthy fats during this time. This Hormone Hub episode is sponsored by our free Hormone Help Call. On the call, we'll give you some clarity around what's causing your symptoms and the 3 simple steps you can start using straight away. If you're ready to take the next step and find out how we can help you, we can talk about that too. So if you're constantly feeling tired, struggling with weight gain, PMS, mood swings, bloating, not sleeping at night, cravings, anxiety, all the things, we're ready to help. If you're ready to ditch those sugar cravings, regain your energy and shift that stubborn weight, then let us help you balance your hormones, reset your metabolism and get your confidence back so you can live the life you're meant to. The link with the details to our Hormone Help Call is in our show notes or over at kyliepinwell.com. Okay, so if we sort of then move on, so we had our period and then, we're coming up to ovulation. So this is what's called our follicular phase. And it's also, if we link it back to the moon, it's the waxing moon phase. So the moon is starting to come out. It's starting to show ourselves. So from a hormone perspective, we start to feel more energetic. We have a higher libido and it's, where we feel more confident and good overall because we've finished with our period. We're coming into that sort of new cycle, new phase. And, we sort of tend to notice is this is where our energy levels are up. Our brain and our cognition function is better. Our libido is increased. We feel more confident, more powerful. This is where we're willing to take more risks. Our skin is softer and clearer. So, that breakout that we had during our period has settled down. We tend to be more extroverted. It's a better time to socialize and put yourself out there. So this is, from a work perspective, a great time for brainstorming, teamwork, networking, and also, estrogen that is higher at this time of the month, it suppresses our appetite, which makes us feel lighter. So, this is where we can, eat, lighter, fresher foods because our metabolism drops a little bit. So this is where, we can get away with, lots of salads and, lighter type foods. So is this making sense? Okay, all of this will be in the show notes. So if you need to come back and go, well, what phase was I more energetic? And from a work perspective, it can be really powerful because if we have like planning out our calendar, and this is something I've learned to do, the week of my period is not the time for me to do back-to-back webinars or have back-to-back client calls. I want to be, that's where I can tap in and be a little bit quieter, a little bit more creative. But then as I come out of my period, this is where I want people, where are the people? Give me the people. So this is when I tap into, these are the times for me to do a live webinar. See, you just thought I just did it randomly, didn't you? Okay. All right. So then we get into the full moon phase. So this is our ovulation phase. So, if we are thinking about having a baby, this is the time to conceive and become pregnant. Now, if any of my listeners are thinking about becoming pregnant, I think you're in the wrong spot because I think for lots of us, those days are done. So, but this is when we're ovulating. So this is where our, estrogen levels are elevated. So we feel sexy, we feel confident, we feel energized, and it's nature's way of priming our body to, seek a mate. We want pleasure, we want joy, if that's what we're craving. So physically, it's not uncommon to have like pelvic pain and twinges. And, for some women, you might also see an increase in headaches, bloating, increased cravings during this time. So it is possible, like I said, to still be cycling if you've had a hysterectomy or an ablation and your ovaries are still intact. So this is why I really encourage you to track your, cycles, and then we can track the moon and use the moon as a base. So where's the moon at? Okay, just imagine that's where I'm at. And, you might notice over the course of a couple of months that you're not quite in sync, and that's okay. It just gives us a starting point. Okay, so when we are ovulating, this is when our brain's at its sharpest. So this is the best time for communicating, for speaking, for writing, for putting your projects out to the world. Our libido is up. We might find ourselves, wanting to do more grooming, taking more care about, looking good, feeling good. Some women even notice that their smell changes, and this is due to the changes in the pheromones. So this is where, it's important to, include those healthy fats, fiber, protein at every meal because, we can get, constipation, gas, bloating, moodiness. So it's important to keep our fluids up and keep that fiber up so that keeps moving through us. We want to, limit our simple carbs. So things like pasta, bread, rice, flour, keep those down because it's going to contribute to that bloating. If we are more susceptible to bloating, steaming, sauteing, or even blending our veggies into soups as well can make them more digestible. So we want to, increase up our leafy greens at this point. This helps detox and metabolize that excess estrogen that's in our system. All right. So then full moon, we're out there, we're on display, we're looking for a mate, we're feeling good, we're feeling fine. So this is where we then head into our luteal phase or the waning moon phase. So this is when the full moon's been out there on display and then it starts to shrink itself. Okay. So this is where, if we haven't fallen pregnant, our progesterone levels tend to start to drop, and this signals our period to begin. Okay, so you are more likely to experience symptoms if you have low progesterone levels. Okay, so maybe you didn't produce enough progesterone to actually ovulate, which is what we call an anovulatory cycle. Or our progesterone is just low relative to higher levels of estrogen. Or, we're through menopause and we're not producing, or we are producing very low levels. So it's when there's this imbalance between progesterone and estrogen that we're more likely to experience bloating, gas, cramps, breast tenderness, moody, PMS, headaches. So this is where, that drop in progesterone, it's like having the rug pulled out from under us. So once you've sort of started tracking this for a couple of cycles, you'll notice that your symptoms will start to decrease, because I'm going to tell you now what we can do to sort of mitigate it. So with your energy and creativity levels, this is where it's time to decrease your obligations and prune out your schedule. Things that don't really have to get done or don't really have to be done by you, don't have to. This is where we want to sort of nest a bit. So we want to get organized at home. We focus more on our living space. Reevaluate, the things that we put our hand up and say yes to. What can we say no to? We need to prioritize sleep at this point. Ideally, we would be getting at least 7 hours of sleep. And if we can't get sleep, let's get more rest. So this means lying down. So reading, snoozing, binge watching TV, this is okay, just to sit there and rest. This is not the time, the week before your period, to start training for a marathon, okay? We want to, to help your sleep. Let's sort of decrease time on devices. Let's use, blue blocking glasses can be helpful if you're watching TV, and try and sleep in a really cool, dark room. So, what we want to do, think that week before our period, we want to slow down, contemplate, incubate. So we do actually need more calories during this phase. So our metabolism naturally speeds up. Okay, so what we need more of, we need more fiber-rich foods, so our veggies, fruit, oats, whole grains, to support our sort of fiber and sort of metabolize that estrogen and eliminate it properly. Okay, so ideally we're aiming for 2 to 3 well-formed, easy-to-pass bowel movements a day. So that's how we know we're getting enough fiber. We want to include food rich in our B vitamins, calcium, magnesium, all help curb those sugar cravings. They also help to decrease any water retention and bloating as well. So if we can get, complex carbs at each meal, so those same high fiber foods, so all your veggies, fruit, oats, whole grains, and this helps stabilize our serotonin, our dopamine levels, and it helps prevent those mood swings. So foods like brown rice, quinoa, roasted baked veggies like pumpkins, sweet potato, cauliflower, parsnip, radishes, onion and garlic are great for those, detoxifying those hormones as well. So this is where, and it's that dip in serotonin that, causes that cravings for the chocolate. Okay, so when we give in to those chocolate sugary cravings, this is where, we might feel like we need a quick fix to boost our mood, but that temporary boost is followed by a sharp sort of drop in blood sugar and our energy levels as well. All right, so I hope that makes sense. It makes sense to me. So just to recap, so get in sync with your cycle, regardless of whether or not you have a period. Okay, so those natural ebbs and flows in our appetite, our sleep, our energy levels, our creativity, is all linked to a cycle. Okay, so everything in our body is also linked to a cycle. So our sleep cycles, our blood pressure regulation, it is all linked to a cycle. So I hope this helps. This is one of my kind of passionate subjects. And I noticed a massive difference when I started working with my cycle. It was huge because I was able to give myself some slack when I needed to, and I was able to take on more when I was able to. So I hope this helps you today, and all the notes will be in the show notes so you can check in and find out more about how to tune in to your cycle. Okay, thanks for listening, everyone. Bye now. Thank you for taking the time to listen today. You can head on over to the show notes at kyliepinwell.com/podcast, where you'll find all the links, and I have a little bonus surprise waiting for you. Before we go, it would mean the world to me if you head on over to your favourite podcasts channel, subscribe and leave a review. Make sure to screenshot it, DM it to me so I can thank you personally. Then stay tuned for next week's episode. Can't wait to see you then.